Eminem is back 9 months later after Revival. He is back with another album. Surprisingly, no one really expected it. He didn't hype it up. He just dropped this midnight on the previous Friday and people went crazy. Now I'm not gonna introduce who Eminem is at this point. You all know who Eminem is by now. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm just gonna say that Revival was one of the worst albums of 2017. Many people agreed with this. Many people call it his worst ever album in his entire career, and a lot of people thought it could have actually been a career ender for the man. Now, even at the time of release, people were like, well, he should just retire, he should just call it a day. He can't bounce back from this. And I don't think it was something I personally said, but I think the reason so many people were strong about that was because he tried coming through with such an important album, that sort of wrapped everything up in the current state of the United States of America into one fucking 70 plus minute album that ended up being an absolute slog. He came through with terrible, cringy lines throughout the whole thing. So many songs had no focus. And when you kind of, come through with something so political and you fail so badly, it hits you harder than just releasing a merely bad album. It was clear that Eminem was trying so hard to say something with substance, and yet it came across so fake. It came across so flaccid. There was nothing behind it. It just had no balls at all. And 9 months later, he's essentially proven to us with Kamikaze how fake Revival was, because he has more passion in him now because everyone called his album bad than he did back when he was trying to make a statement on the current state of the government, American politics. There's more passion here. He's more angry now than he was then, which just makes Revival even worse, to be honest. The concept of Kamikaze really is just Eminem going through all the reasons as to why he's angry about people not liking Revival. So essentially, he hasn't accepted that Revival was a bad album in his discography. He's basically saying, oh, people didn't get Revival, and now I'm going to respond to everyone who didn't get it in this album. And believe me when I say it gets salty. It gets fucking salty a lot on this album. And pretty embarrassing at times, I must admit. Now, of course, it's a fucking Eminem album. We've got one camp calling it a masterpiece, saying that people don't understand Eminem's rhyme schemes, and there's so much depth to Eminem as a rapper. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Bloody bloody blah, Kamikaze masterpiece, all that shit. And then we've got the other camp of Eminem haters who have recently become more prominent, I'd say, as time's gone on, and with the internet era coming through as a bit more stronger, people having more opinions, not being afraid to say what they think, hot takes, all that kind of stuff. And this camp is basically calling Kamikaze the worst thing that's come out all year, and the usual shit. Now, I try not to overreact to shit like this. An album comes out, I'm not going to call it the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, because that's just not what I do. I try to be as fair as I can, and honestly, Kamikaze is very mid-tier. It's not terrible, it's not great, but it's just neither. It just falls in the middle in such an uninspiring way that annoys me so much, because Eminem could have done so much more with this. Why did Eminem have to do this? Why did he have to get so mad about people not liking his album? Just accept that you made an album that not many people liked. It still did numbers. You still had a fucking #1 single in the UK with Ed Sheeran. What's the big deal? Why'd you care so much that people didn't like it? When fucking Tommy Wiseau made The Room and no one liked it, he made it into a joke. He made it into the biggest joke of all time and turned it into a cult classic. You could have done that. You could have turned it into a joke. You could have mocked yourself. You could have looked back on the things you did and thought, yeah, that song where I talked about pooing or whatever it was on Offended. Yeah, that was really bad. I should really look at that and just see it as a bad time in my music career and just make a joke out of it now. I just hate how people are so aware of themselves. Like, just mock yourself sometimes. Accept that you've done something bad or done something wrong and move on and learn from it. But no, he can't do that, can he? No matter how hard you try and look at this album any other way, it always comes back to the idea of a 45-year-old man making an album about the current state of rap music in today's mainstream, charts and all that shit, and just getting mad about how it sounds now. Like, it's such an old head type attitude. Yeah, there's a lot of shit in the charts, but come on, dude. There was shit in the charts back when you were at the peak. Like, there's always shit in the charts. You don't need to make an album telling us that mumble rappers are the worst thing to ever happen. Lil Yachty isn't for you. Well, he's not made for you. I don't like Lil Yachty either, but I don't care. And of course, the whole album isn't focusing on that. I do think the opening track, Eminem is rapping pretty well, but he just drops lines here and there that just really irk me, and I don't really see them as being as clever as people might make them out to be. Yeah, sure, he's got good rhyme schemes, like the way he rhymes words together is always really clever, but then the punchline ends up being really underwhelming. Like, it ends up just being a really lame dad joke, to be honest. And I think the comedy is definitely one of the worst aspects of Kamikaze. Like, Eminem's jokes are so outdated, to be honest. Like, I don't know who these kind of jokes appeal to, but I just don't see it as being good humor. Like, it's really lowest common denominator type shit. He talks about his wood at one point. Like, fucking wood? What are you, 15? Like, come on, dude. Before I go off rambling, I'm just going to go back to the opening track again, The Ringer. Like, the rapping on this track is solid. The beat is a good beat. I can't deny many of the things on this track in terms of the skill that Eminem shows us, really. Like, it's so much better than Revival ever could be, and it's only the first track. So it's a solid start to Kamikaze, without a doubt. But there are so many lines that just come through, like how he's referencing how he was once the greatest, but no one really sees him that way anymore. And I just don't understand who he's talking about, because no matter how many people you talk to, they will always say Eminem is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Like the line, for instance, maybe Stan isn't your cup of tea, maybe your cup's filled with syrup and lean. It's a pretty funny line because, so much rap these days, Lil Xan, Tekashi 6ix9ine, I can name a bunch of them that just constantly reference lean and Xanax and shit like that as if it's just not life-ending drugs. People die by using these drugs and they're just so commonly referenced as if it's just kind of like a lifestyle now. And I understand Eminem's concern about that, but he's referencing a very specific crowd here. Like, you're talking about teenagers that listen to this kind of music that didn't grow up on your song Stan or any of your biggest albums. So of course they're not going to appreciate your music as much as older people did. And that should be okay. Like, yeah, they're 16, 20 years old. They weren't around when you were at the peak of your career, so why would they be listening to your music now? Why are you so hung up over this? I don't get it. And then he goes on to say, I'm going to take aim at everyone in the game. I'm fed up of being humble. Being humble is actually really important. Like, if you're just going to get arsey and attack every rapper around because you don't like them, then it comes across as a really dickish type of thing. Like, you're just alienating yourself from everyone in the whole industry for no reason, because what? They didn't like your last album? Who cares? Why do you care so much? And then it's hilarious how he goes on to later say, if you're not Kendrick, Cole, or Sean, then you're a goner. Like, you're attacking everyone in the game, but you're gonna defend Big Sean? Seriously? Big Sean? Like I said, the track itself sounds good, but I can't help ignoring the terrible lines that just crop up after every 8 bar or whatever it is. Like, your average rapper these days who actually puts craft in their music, for example Joey Badass, he doesn't come through with any terrible lines in any of his songs, and I just can't understand how one of the greatest of all time is coming through with terrible lines every fucking 5 syllables or whatever. And then we've got the track Greatest, where he's talking again about how he's one of the greatest of all time, once again showing his massive insecurities about where he is right now and how, you know, his last album was so poor that he's convincing everyone that I'm still one of the greatest. I'm just reminding you again, I'm still here, one of the greatest. I don't care what you say about me. Ugh. And the hook on this song, greatest to ever do it, greatest in the world, greatest to ever do it, I might be. Like, oh my god, this is the best hook you could come up with. Seriously, the best hook you could come up with is this. It's not good at all. Like, it just ruins the track. Again, it's fine until that chorus. And the worst part about this hook is later on the album in Stepping Stone, he makes a reference to how I write my own hooks, and if I say it, it's because I wrote it, you know, obviously taking shots at people that use ghostwriters. And yet, Stepping Stone has a really bad hook as well. So you're bragging about writing your own hooks, and yet your hooks aren't even very good. You know, I appreciate Eminem singing on this track. You know, he used to be fantastic at singing his own hooks, but on this one he sounds so gravelly. Like, his voice just sounds so out of place. The instrumental is a bit heavier and rockier, and it really, to me, just shows how out of touch Eminem seems on this album. Like, he's, you know, pretty old at this point, but he's using these really outdated instrumentals that don't particularly sound too well and never aged that well in the first place. Turn to the river with you, if I live. Again, like Greatest, I think it was doing fine up until the chorus. We have Nice Guy on the album too. Holy shit, Jessie Reyez singing this song. I don't know who she is, but let's just hope we don't hear more from her anytime soon. You're such a nice guy, a nice guy. And then the beat comes in and she carries on over this beat. Oh, honestly, hands down, one of the worst songs I've heard all year, and that is not an exaggeration. I'm going to push this agenda for the rest of the year. Nice Guy, absolutely one of the worst songs of the year. And this is Eminem coming back hard, out of the gates, attacking everyone in his sight, and he includes a song like this. What are you doing? Just, honestly, horrendous. I cannot believe it. Then Good Guy comes straight after. This is just a nothingness of a song. Jessie singing again. Jessie singing actually is a little bit better on this track, I must admit. But holy shit, this last little leg of the album is so bad. It starts off okay, but has some rocky moments at least. Like with the lyrics and some of the rhymes and some of the choruses and stuff like that. But it's tolerable. Like, the first 5 or 6 songs are fine, at least. But the way it ends off, why do we have Venom at the end? This is a terrible fucking movie soundtrack song that really fits in this album in no way at all. How can this album be considered good when it ends off on a fucking movie soundtrack song? Like, you don't end your album that's supposed to be you coming back into form, you coming back on your A game, with a song from a superhero movie that's coming out later in the year. Makes no sense. Is this just to promote the film and promote your song? What's the point? Anyway, before I go off on a massive tangent about how shit the last 3 songs are on this album, I will attempt to talk about the positives, because there actually are some positives, honestly. Normal is a pretty good track. I like the beat on this song. I think Eminem sounds alright too. The focus of the track is the only track here that actually sticks to something that could resonate quite well, I think. He ditches the whole Insecurities, you know, attacking critics and moaning about how his album didn't do well, which is, again, too much of this album, to be honest. And he's just focusing on the relationship with his wife. And some pretty, you know, heavy lines come through. It's a pretty emotional song. I can't really deny this one. It's a shame that it doesn't fit the track listing very well. You know, it comes in at track 4 or track 5 or whatever, and it's got really no relevance to the album's theme, but as a standalone song, I think it's pretty solid. Lucky You is easily the best song on the album. Holy shit, Joey Lucas snaps on here. He is just throttling so hard. I mean, yeah, I suppose the fast flow is only impressive if you come through with some good bars, but he actually does sound really good on this track, and he fits the beat so well. I think Johnny Lucas gets a little bit of hate But I don't really know why, because I think he actually sounds pretty good on most of the songs he's on. It's just really silly to me that the best moments on this album come from another source. Like, if Eminem spent more time collaborating with other rappers and getting more of a feel for how he could craft different types of songs instead of focusing on what critics have to say about him, he would probably come out with a really good album. It's just so weird to me that his entire career, he's never really broadened out and collaborated with loads of different rappers. He just confides himself in his own state and just, you know, features on songs with people like Royce da 5'9" who are within his own state, D12, that kind of stuff. And Royce da 5'9" shows up on this album and he does a good job too. It's just so annoying to me that Eminem has to imitate the Migos flow on this track. Like, I get he's attacking Migos probably because he's attacking everyone else, but it's just not funny at all. If the whole song was focusing on parodying this style of music, you know, then it might be funny, but it's not. It's just one little section of the song, and I just don't get why he did it. And the annoying part about this as well is that he's imitating a song that was relevant 18 months ago. Like, how late to the game are you with this? Holy shit, like, what is your game here? Are you trying to take down everything that's in your sight within modern rap music? Or are you just so out of touch that you don't even realise that that Migos song isn't even popular anymore? Mate. Now, it would be very stupid of me not to bring up this song Fall, because Fall, for Eminem fans and stans, this will be the best song for them on the album. This is essentially Eminem back in his old days where he just fires at everyone in his sight. He is attacking so many people. He name drops everyone he is talking about as well. He is ready to face a backlash with this track, and he really shows no mercy on this one, to be honest. He goes for Joe Budden, he goes for Pitchfork, he even goes for the Grammys, but the Grammys line is so stupid because he says how the Grammys will give Album of the Year to someone that no one's ever heard of, despite the fact that Album of the Year last year went to Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar was referenced on this very album. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, just because you didn't get nominated for Rap Album of the Year doesn't mean that no one's heard of the person that wins Rap Album of the Year. People have heard of Kendrick Lamar's Damn, you idiot. And he references Tyler the Creator, which has brought him the most controversy that this album has seen. People have talked about how he uses a slur in reference to Tyler the Creator, and of course recently people have come to the sort of conclusion that Tyler the Creator might in fact be gay or bisexual, even though Tyler the Creator actually hasn't come out and said it himself, so no one knows for sure, but he has made references on Flower Boy that he is. Now, Eminem fans are definitely going to go as far as to say that you're just offended, political correctness gone mad. Look, right, I'm not a big fan of political correctness, if I'm being honest. It can be quite annoying sometimes, but why call someone a faggot? Like why? Like, are you 15 years old? Like, again, this is just a terrible insult. Like, it's just not cool. Like, what, you're gonna call someone a faggot and then high five your friend Chad? Like, yeah, we did it, man. Political correctness is dead. Once again, showing how out of touch Eminem is. He can only bring people down by insulting them, but actually not having any sort of weight behind what he's saying. Like, the basis around this line is because Tyler the Creator tweeted about how one Eminem song is terrible, and so now Eminem throws a jab at him in the most lame way he possibly could. And people are going to be like, "This is just real rap, man. It's real rap. This is what real rap is about." Well, how about making a good album? Like, isn't that what rap is about? Isn't that what music's about? You know, the only way Eminem can suddenly feel good about himself is by attacking other people in the game. Like, you haven't made a good album by doing that. That isn't what rap music is. I will concede and say there are high points on this album. I've already mentioned the good songs here. But Eminem's petty behaviours across this whole thing and the lack of focus that this album has is really dragging the whole thing down. Like, seriously, man. he's at a point now where I think he's just so jealous and bitter of everyone else around him that he can't make anything remotely close to being great. Like, I just don't see it. There was once a time in Eminem's career where he was being fired at by everyone around him. People hated the man. Right-wing publications were attacking him all the time. He was offending everyone. And you know what he did? He took your criticisms and made them into his bitch. If you were attacking Eminem, you weren't standing a chance, man. You were being name dropped in the next song he was writing, and he would attack you and rip your head off, and there would be no holds barred. But now the critics have come at him and he can't handle it anymore, and he fumbles and falls apart whenever anyone says anything bad about him. Like, the man has completely changed. He cannot handle anyone being against him anymore, despite the fact that was what his career was once built on. A kamikaze is an explosive, violent, suicidal crash on an enemy target, and the only kamikaze that Eminem is doing these days is an explosive, violent crash on himself. That is it. He is a kamikaze to himself and no one else. 5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts on this album. I am done. Eminem, mate, just stop crying about people's opinions of you and make something good. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews if you like this. Let me know your thoughts. Have a good day.